The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing Icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business. From $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters at Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
Welcome to the Icons of Real Estate. I'm Tim Calloway. We have a very special guest for you today out of the San Francisco Bay Area, Jon Foster from Jon and Leslie Foster Real Estate with eXp Realty. How are you, Jon?
I'm excellent, Tim, and I'm super excited to be a guest on your show today. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries, man. Been looking forward to it. So, I always love having realtors on that are a team with their spouse. And I really, really love it when only one spouse is there because I know at some point your spouse will be on my show at some point. I don't know, might be years from now, might be months from now, and I'm going to get the other side of the story. So don't worry, though, I won't grill you too much about that, but we love talking to couples. Why don't you just go ahead and tell me how you got started, Jon?
Absolutely. And I was expecting you to say that, Tim. And my better half, as she's often referred to, otherwise known as Leslie Foster, would be honored to be a guest on your show one day. So just make sure to send her an invite.
We will. Don't tell me any secrets. No, I'm kidding. I love working with my spouse.
Yeah. Well, the joke is that we're so busy, we don't have time to argue.
Right. Good. That might, hey, Jon, you might need to write a book, and that'll be the next time you're on. You're going to write a book. The secret to my success in marriage is working with my spouse, so we don't have time to argue. Yeah, I love that.
There's marriage advice on a real estate podcast, huh?
Right, exactly. Who would have known? Who would have known? No, how did you get started, Jon? I'm sure there's a great story there that we'd all love to hear.
I bought my first house. To the short answer, Tim, I bought my first house when I was 21, and I had a great agent. And I was scared, and this agent helped me through the process. And I bought another house 2 years later. And I asked this agent if I just said, and I didn't even remember back then, I think I was just young, and I know I had an entrepreneurial spirit, but I just said, if I was to get my real estate license, would you train me? And he said, yes.
Wow.
So I got my real estate license. I walked into my employer. I worked as an HVAC test and balance technician down in Silicon Valley. In the .com years. And I told him, I said, his name was Bill. I said, Bill, I'm quitting my job today. And his eyes got really big. I was there for 7 years. I was one of their top techs on the team. And he said, Jon, I'm sad to hear that. And I'm shocked. And he said, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to become a real estate agent. And he laughed at me.
Oh.
And it was insulting. I understand, I get it. He didn't want to lose me. I was a good employee, but he laughed at me, and he wrote on there, because you have to do like a discharge form for the union, going to become a realtor. And then he handed it to me and said, good luck. But the way he said it was so sarcastic. Yeah. It was not a great moment, to be honest, but it was the best decision I ever made.
Of course. Now, I'm not all about, what do you call it, revenge or anything like that. Don't get me wrong. I'm a very happy-go-lucky guy. But do you still keep in touch with him?
No. And it wasn't like leaving on bad terms at all.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't personal. It was a business thing, and we just kind of moved on and went our separate ways.
Yeah, I always find that the ones that cheer for you the least are the closest to you, and it comes from a lot of different places, right? Almost he may have actually cared enough inside that it was like a little bit of concern, you know what I mean? So, and I'm glad things have worked out so well for you. So you move on, you start your career in real estate. How's the first year go?
Rough.
Darn, he was right.
Do you want a short answer or a long answer? The short answer is rough.
Give me the answer that maybe we give you enough sympathy for.
And I'll
Go
try to
ahead.
be fairly brief here because there's so many directions these types of stories could take. But I mean,
Yeah.
and when I say rough, I really actually got very lucky by being set up with probably the greatest coach for a brand new young 24-year-old agent named Kenny Braylard. And Kenny was very attentive to me. I think he was excited that I was the youngest agent in the office. And he said, I'm going to help this kid and I'm going to show him how to be successful. And long story short, he basically coached me on what to say to door knock. And I door knocked thousands and thousands of homes. And Tim, the world was a little bit different place back in 2004. There was no
Oh,
pandemic.
sure. Right.
People were still somewhat, I don't say fully, but somewhat friendly to a knock on the door and open it
Yeah,
up and greeting that person.
for sure.
Not to say that I didn't get some newspapers thrown at me or get off my property. There's always those people, right?
Yeah, but there were no guns and no calling the cops. Nowadays it's like, okay, you can't even walk on someone's grass anymore. So yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. So fortunately enough for me is that really jump-started my business. And the first year I actually did quite well, although I didn't close my first sale for 4 months. But um, there was some cold calling mixed in with that, a lot of open houses on the weekend. But the bottom line, if we're kind of getting to what's the takeaway here, was he just told me, he says, you have to have a work ethic that's basically second to none. He says, you're competing against older agents, more experienced, big client databases. He goes, you can't compete with that except for work ethic.
Yeah.
And he also told me, he says, as you advance through your career, don't ever forget that. So to this day, I have never forgotten that. You might have more experience, you might have a lot of things going for you to keep that momentum going, but at the end of the day, I really believe it's work ethic.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You know how I know you got good work ethic? You got a whiteboard. I'm not kidding. I mean, and I have a whiteboard. And it's funny is most people in the technological age don't have whiteboards, right? They like, oh, I've got it right here, or I've got it on my computer or whatever. But being able to walk into that office every day and see, the to-do list or the contact list or whatever you might call it, I think it's very powerful. Wouldn't you agree?
I would totally agree. I've got my follow-up boss shirt. Where is it? Here we go. Follow-up boss shirt. So I mean, we love Follow Up Boss. I'm not trying to plug them, but I mean, I have all the technology. We use a CRM. We use a lot of AI type stuff to help us follow up. But you look at that whiteboard back there, and some of the things Kenny taught me as a brand new agent. It's also a dream board. I've got a picture of the backyard in the home that my wife and I are renovating right now. But it's
Nice.
what is inside your heart
Yeah.
every single day that it's not the next transaction. Is it helping people? Of course.
Yeah.
But there's something in your heart that's personal that's going to drive you to do that work every single day. And you've got to know what that is. So I know what that is, but sometimes when I see agents struggling, it's not to coach them on how to write a better offer. That has nothing to do with it. What's inside you that drives you to do that work every single day? You have to know what that is.
Exactly. And some people call it their why, some people call it, their motivator or whatever you want to call it. There's got to be something besides the almighty dollar that wakes you up, at the beginning of the day, basically. So we talked about how you got started and well, tell me how your wonderful wife, Leslie, got started. How did she get started?
She was a loan processor when I met her. So not sales, but on the mortgage side. And when we got married, I was in real estate and I had built a pretty decent start to my career, I guess you could say.
Right.
And she jumped right in and wanted to work with me. It wasn't like, you should do this. She was very excited about it. And she already had a real estate license. And I said, let's do this.
Yeah.
So we got married in 2008. And what happened next? The economy.
Oh, I was going to say children. I don't know.
The first year of marriage, the market crashes, right?
Right. Well, this was great. Okay. Was it a prerequisite to work with you, Jon, to marry you?
It wasn't. I would have been,
We have to get married. Yeah.
I think it was a natural thing. I mean, I was excited. She was excited. We were not excited when the market crashed. And I think it was a lot of fear. Like they always say the first year of marriage is the hardest. We'll throw in an economic collapse on top of that. I mean, wow.
You're like, what are we doing? I don't know. It was your idea. She's blaming you the whole time, I bet. No, but it worked out, right? And it probably made you stronger as a couple. I mean, I've been married 32 years, and pretty much everything that's gone wrong has been my fault. And so, someone's got to be the rock, right? So that's good. It's worked out. Did you get a nice lesson in short sales and things like that during that time, or did you just keep listing and selling homes?
I always go back to what my coach Kenny told me, because I wouldn't be here without him. But he told me, he says, John, you have to be tougher than your problems.
Oh, nice. I like that.
And I mean, you could use that for anything you want, but I mean, so the problem was this market collapse. You mentioned short sales. So absolutely, we got into short sales. And then it was pretty obvious that agents that had bank relationships were dominating. And so I got on an airplane. I flew all over the country with money I didn't have to buy airplane tickets.
Yeah.
I had an equity line on my house, so might as well buy some airplane tickets with it. And we met asset managers all over the country. And I had never sold a bank-owned home before. So here I am, this young kid. Will you give me some of your bank-owned properties to sell? And it was tough. Most people said no. And I said, I gotta be different. I gotta say something different. I have to be different. I have to do something different. And I thought about it. I thought about it, and I came up with an idea. And my pitch, for lack of a better way to say what I'm trying to describe here, I asked the asset managers to give me the worst properties in their portfolio. I didn't care where they were, that they couldn't sell, or they gave it to another agent. The other agent couldn't sell it. And it worked.
Oh, wow.
So
they just had to unload, right? I mean, they just had to unload. They had to do something, right?
they had to do something. And so I really, really was hopeful this idea would work. It did. So long story short, I ended up getting some relationships built with some asset management companies and some banks, sold some of their worst properties, which was what I requested. I got it done just from sheer grit and determination, that if it's like, figure it out or get out of the business, really is the point I was at. We did figure it out after no shortage of sleepless nights, but we impressed these relationships, and all of a sudden we got flooded with business by these different banks. Now you're building up a name and a resume for yourself. We continued to market to other asset managers that we knew had these listings in our area. And the peak of that, and there was a lot of struggle, Tim. I don't want to sugarcoat. There was so much struggle. We were in survival mode just to stick with it and keep the doors open.
Yeah.
The silver lining, after, again, talked a lot about work ethic here, we just stuck with it. And at the peak of the success that we had in this down market, Leslie and I will never forget it. We had 99 listings.
Oh, wow.
We never hit 100.
Right.
But we had 99 listings, and we looked at each other, and obviously there was a lot of excitement building up to growing it to that size, but we looked at each other and just said, thank God we never quit.
Yeah, for sure.
Never quit.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So I guess I think that's just a fantastic story. I think I'm going to put it on your thumbnail as we market this. You got to be tougher than your problems. Since you said that, and I'm 52 years old and I've never heard that before, believe it or not. And I've probably read it in books and things or somewhere. And when you said it, it just kind of resonated. And I hope the audience, it resonates with them as well, because I think that's great advice and it's pretty powerful. So we talked about how you started, talked about the bumpy years there and, working with your spouse. And so let's just say I came out to Frisco and we had lunch and we're shooting the breeze and we're talking about things. And I go, you know what, John, I have a magic wand and I can solve one ongoing issue for you. Something that has plagued you, something that you would just like to get resolved. What in your business seems to be an ongoing occurrence that maybe you would like a resolution to? Doesn't have to be a problem, or maybe it's just time. Anything like that I could help solve for you?
So you did say time. That was actually the first thing that came to my mind.
Always is, right? Yeah.
It seems to always be, it probably always should be, because I mean, I guess that's that cliche that what is the most valuable asset that it's a finite amount of, it's time.
Yeah.
So I think the thing that to answer that question is, Leslie and I have not run this business perfectly. We tried to. I don't think perfect exists, but try to make as much progress throughout building this team that we've built. And a lot of it has been bringing on a lot of talented people,
right,
that do things quite honestly better than we do. And it has brought us more time. We built a business that was starting to produce because we wanted to be successful after this. So the REO days ended, and then it was just back to this traditional market. It was a sense of sort of reinventing your marketing and who you are as an agent. We're going from representing banks to traditional business. So it took us some time to get that momentum, but once we got it back, then we found ourselves working 7 days a week, and we go, well, it was like you solve one problem and you create another. Well, great, we got all these listings and all these buyers that want us to work with them. And now we're like absentee parents. Like our kids are like, mom and dad are nowhere in sight. They're working all the time. So again, time was something we wanted back desperately. And it started slowly, like bringing on an assistant who was a friend. And then that assistant turned out to be way more talented than an assistant, who's now our director of operations. It's a very cool story.
Very nice.
And it was almost, I don't want to say this accidental thing, but wanting to get time back, you said wave that magic wand. We brought on another person and another person and another person. And today we've got nearly a team of 40 between staff and agents. And, it's been extremely exciting. It's been humbling. Somebody asked me on our team the other day, how do you feel about all these agents joining your team? And I said, do you want me to be brutally honest with you? I said, it's scary. And they looked at me funny. And I said, the reason I said that is I'm trying to take the advice that's always been given to me by every good coach that I've ever had, is that if you're operating within your comfort zone, don't expect to be successful.
Right.
And so when this individual asked me what it felt like to all these people joining our team, I said, well, there's some fear behind it. I don't want to screw it up. I don't want to let them down.
Right.
And I said, but the thing that makes me know that this is the right thing for my business is it is outside my comfort zone. And there's an element of scariness and fear behind that. And that's why I know it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. I'm going to put that on the next part of your thumbnail. So tell me about, let's put our prognostication hats on here for a minute and tell me what's the next 1, 3, and 5 years. I know you have to have a blueprint or a mindset, moving forward. What's the bigger plan? Not necessarily the end game, but what's the bigger plan for both of you and for the team?
That's a great question. I think that I will just speak for myself. I know there's a lot of great teams out there, but you have to be in growth mode always. There's no such thing, in my opinion, as a team leader that, okay, we've hit this magic number of 20 agents on our team or whatever it is, we're done. It doesn't exist. New talent coming in. If we really have something good, if I'm being honest with myself, if our team has something special, why would an agent want to be a part of the J&L Real Estate Group? Then I have to ask myself, we're working hard to do this right. And I believe that we are, and to truly help agents grow their business. Why would I ever stop sharing that with other agents who might be struggling right now? I absolutely wouldn't be here if it wasn't for people that took a vested interest in me as a person. I'm going to help John Foster. He's hungry. He's worthy of it. Whatever they said, I'll never forget those people. These are people that were instrumental in my life to get me where I'm at today. If I can be that person to anybody, to one person, it's all worth it. So to answer your question about where is this going, I really believe that in my heart, that if we're building something special, and I do believe that we are, I'm going to continue to share that with agents. So where does it look like in 3 to 5 years? I would say expanding into other markets. I would say we have one office space here in Castro Valley. I would say different office spaces scattered throughout areas that are strategically probably make sense to expand into. Beyond that, I think there's so many relationships that we've built with other third-party companies, Zillow being one of them. I think that would be another thing, is just to expand into co-listing opportunities for our team. I think would be exciting. And there's
Awesome.
other things that I could expand on, but if that answers your question, those are just a couple things that come to my mind.
For sure. So we're kind of winding down here in our 2-part series that we created today. But so how could someone get in touch with you, Jon, if they either wanted to join your team, list their home, and of course buy a home? How could they get in touch with you?
They could go to our website. It's jandlrealestategroup.com. That's our team website.
Okay.
My personal website is jonandleslie.com. And that's just a website for Leslie and I.
Okay.
Or if you want to Google us, it could be Jon and Leslie Foster, real estate agents. We should pop up there, top of Google, if Google's loving us that on that particular day.
Right. Okay, perfect. So we know how to get in touch with you. So one of the things I like to do, last kind of question, is, you're the hit record and I'm just the DJ spinning the records, and, take us out, share some thoughts with us, whatever's on your mind, your heart, your soul, that you'd like to share with everybody. It could be about family, it could be about your dog, it could be about your truck, it could be about anything you want. It could be about business. Take us out and tell us your last minute or two thoughts.
I'll make it both business and personal. How's that, Tim?
Perfect.
Business and personal. So what would that be? I would say invest in yourself. I see people that they complain about whatever it is that they're complaining about. And again, this could be business or personal. And then the first question I would like to ask them, if I was ever in a conversation with such a person, is how many books do you read? When was the last time you hired a coach, had a coach, went to an event? Whatever that may be. But I think that could be a business and personal thing. But I would ask every agent in this market right now, if you're not really, really honing your skills and to be a better human being, forget about a better agent, a better human being that knows how to interact with people. The language that we use is the transference of energy. The skills-based market is tough. Rates, we all know, I don't need to get into what's going on with the market right now. It's tough. I'm really proud to say our team won a massive award at eXp Realty just last month. The #1 mid-sized team nationwide, the entire company.
Congratulations.
ECI. And I'm not taking that award. That's not a Jon and Leslie award. That's this team. Because I think if you ask anybody on my team, we work on our skills here. And we go to events. We have coaches. I'm in a really small, kind of intimate NLP group. It just has to do with like a higher level of elevating your communication between human beings, because what we say matters. The market a year ago, I don't want to say what you say didn't matter. That would not be accurate. But there was so much velocity and basically FOMO from buyers. I got to hurry up and buy a house because everybody's buying a home right now. Yeah. And oh, by the way, I can get an interest rate for 2.5%. The skill at that point was who could write the highest offer with no contingencies. That agent got the offer accepted.
Yeah, right.
The skill set today is a polar opposite. And I'm seeing agents that quote unquote crushed it in this former market that are dead in the water right now. And just between you and me, Tim, I don't think they've built their skill set or invested in themselves as people and as agents to survive in the market that we're in right now, and they're struggling. Yeah, so
for sure.
Whether it's a personal life coach, a therapist, a real estate coach, you went to a real estate event, whatever it is. I mean, if I could just wrap up the answer to your question, Tim, I would love to see people, if they're resonating with what I'm saying right now, invest in themselves in whatever way that investment needs to look like for you, whoever's listening right now. There's no better use of your time and money but to invest in yourself.
I love it, Jon. That's sage advice. Invest in yourself. I'm going to put that. That's what we're really going to put on the thumbnail. Thank you so much for being on the show, Jon. Hang with me 1 minute afterwards so I can make sure that we get your better half on the show as well. I look forward to talking to you again over the next 3, 6, 9 months and see how things are going. But until then, you have a great weekend.
Appreciate it, Tim, very much. And I hope you have a great weekend as well.
Thank you.